Another piece of news that kind of popped off throughout the weekend that I'm not a fan of, and it just speaks to the lack of news that's going on and people looking for stories to run with. Trevor Lawrence stated in a Sports Illustrated cover story, and this is the direct quote, he doesn't, and this starts the quote, have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everybody wrong. It's not like I need this for my life to be okay. Critics came out of the woodwork over that statement, and I think it is absolutely ridiculous. Again, this speaks to the lack of news, the lack of things that are going on in the league. And even for myself personally, putting the show together these last few weeks as the offseason has slowed down, barring like any big breaking news, like I kind of lucked out with the Alex Smith thing at the beginning of this. And when I heard that Trevor Lawrence said this, I didn't really think anything of it. I just took it as, okay, like, so football is not his life. He's somebody who he understands that there's more to life than just playing the game of football. And I don't see that as weird, but obviously people are going to take that and spin it in any narrative they want to push out some numbers and clicks and views. So people started going crazy about it, criticizing his passion and desire for the game, whether he was actually as motivated as people would want him to be as a number one pick going to the Jaguars. So Trevor Lawrence, obviously, naturally, fired back with a massive Twitter thread here, kind of breaking everything down. And I'll read this out to you guys because I think it's hilarious. He started off by saying, "It seems as if people are misreading my sentiment. I am internally motivated. I love football as much or more than anyone. It is a huge priority in my life, obviously. I am driven to be the best I can be and to maximize my potential and to win. I have a lot of confidence in my work ethic. I love to grind and chase my goals, and you can ask anyone who has been in my life. That being said, I am secure in who I am and what I believe. I don't need football to make me feel worthy as a person. I purely love the game and everything that comes with it, the work, the team, the ups and downs. I am a firm believer in the fact that there is a plan for my life, and I'm called to be the best I can be at whatever I am doing. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. LOL." My thoughts exactly. He has been the best quarterback in his class coming out of high school. There was never a point where, Trevor Lawrence was considered an underdog, or, he had this whole story where he's fighting against all odds. He has been the number one quarterback throughout the entirety of his football playing career at this point, and he hasn't even hit the pros. He doesn't have that underdog story. He doesn't have the chip on his shoulder. He has been the guy. It's similar to kind of like when you look at the way like Peyton Manning was coming out of college. You look at him and he was somebody that was always the best. He didn't have a chip on his shoulder. He came into the league as the best, and then he continued to stake his claim as to why he was the best. And I think Trevor Lawrence is the same here. It's just a matter of Trevor Lawrence came out and said himself, I don't need football. It's not my entire identity. And on top of that, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. Of course not. Why would he? I find it hilarious that the pundits and things like that took this story and ran with it the way they did. When I heard the story initially come out and I read it, I not once thought to myself like, oh, maybe he's not as passionate about football. He's the number one guy for a reason. He obviously loves football. You're not the best quarterback in the nation and not passionate about what you do. You don't just casually step on the football field and become the best quarterback because you like to do it and it's just something to do. You have to be passionate for it. You have to love what you're doing. It literally does not make sense how people spun the narrative of like, he doesn't have the desire or the passion for the game. Is he actually worth the number one pick? Blah, blah, blah. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. That's all I've got to say about that. I think it's good. I'm glad that he's able to, he has an identity outside of football. He's comfortable with who he is, whether his career is like Super Bowl or bust or not. Like that's not important to him. He loves the game. He loves what he's doing, but he's also a person outside of the game and he understands that. And that's something that I think is very important, especially for somebody in such a high stakes position like him going into the NFL where he's the number one pick, expectations, all that kind of stuff. Like you can't look at Trevor Lawrence and be like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if you have the desire for this game, man. You just been the best quarterback since coming out of high school, but no, I'm not buying it. I don't think so. I don't think you're worthy of the number one pick anymore. Like, come on, seriously, let's get real here. I understand that it's hard to find some news to talk about right now. Trust me. as a up and, I'm building a show from the ground up. I'm sitting here some days like, what the hell am I going to talk about 2 hours before I go live? So I completely understand the loss of not having, of trying to figure out what you're going to do to talk about for today, but don't just make stuff up and spin narratives because you have nothing to talk about. Like, find something newsworthy and run with it. But that's all I really got to say about that whole situation. I think it's ridiculous. I can't believe that it got spun the way it did. Goofy. That's all I've got to say to the people that really thought he wasn't passionate or had no desire for the game or just not enough. I mean, you don't casually walk in and I've already said that before, but you don't casually walk in and just be the number one quarterback in the NFL, or not in the NFL, excuse me, in college and in high school coming out as a recruit. It just doesn't happen casually like that.